Hi, I'm Debbie Briscoe, and I'm the flatwater instructor for NOLI. And I grew up around this region, and from the early age of my mom taking my brother and I camping for the first time, teaching me how to cook in the fire. My brother was in the scouts, and of course, I had to do everything he did and learned all the merit badges right along with him. And I've hiked and biked and backpacked and got into kayaking about 30 years old, and immediately got into whitewater after that, and then eventually got back into flatwater again, and then kayak camping. I then got off the ground from camping and got into hammock camping. I just I just like to do a lot of different things, and I like to share, and I like to show people, especially women, how to get outside and feel comfortable being outside. Oh goodness, I had this dream of floating down a river and camping, and then I read in the newspaper about a kayak and canoe tryout day at Wing Deer Park. Mahoney's was putting it on. That was years ago. They don't even do it anymore. And I I went and I tried out canoes and kayaks all day long. And a couple weeks after that, I bought a kayak. I bought a wreck boat, and I just started taking it out to the lake. I had a book that had strokes, how to do strokes, and I practiced that by myself on the lake every day after work. I was so excited to have my own boat. And I saw some kayakers going down the river on the way home one day, and I called Mahoney's back and asked them about it. They told me about the Appalachian Paddling Enthusiasts, which is a local kayaking club, and I joined. And all that summer, I paddled with them in my wreck boat, and by the end of the summer, got a whitewater boat. And by the next year, I was starting to take leadership roles. I became the conservation officer and started doing the river cleanups. And then a year after that, I started leading kayak trips. So I just really fell in love with kayaking, and I ate, breathed, and slept kayaking. And I have ever since, and it's been 25 years. Besides all my wonderful summers on the Nolichucky, which is probably the highlight of my life, were those days. And you got to remember, I paddled for 25 years out there, so I got a lot of memories. I guess my most notable would be finally getting to go down the gully. And a friend took me in a shredder, and at one point in a big rapid called Mash, he almost fell out, and I grabbed him and pulled him back in and surprised myself with all the adrenaline I had rushing that I could actually pull a grown man back in. And he, grabbed a hold of his paddle, and we just paddled on, and it was so incredible. I guess my next one would probably be my first real kayak expedition, and that was at Land Between the Lakes, from Barkley Lake into Kentucky Lake. We paddled from bridge to bridge, total of 50 miles, completely self-supported. We took all of our own food, shelter, water, everything, camped 2 nights, did a total of 50 miles. And at the end, it was like, yes, I did it. And I'm hooked on that. I just want to keep doing it. My first advice for someone who wants to improve or even just get started is to first take a class. Take a class with someone who is experienced and can teach you the basics of the basic concepts of the correct strokes, because you don't want to learn bad habits and then have to break bad habits. If you start off with a good instructor, they can take you out for a few hours and show you those strokes. Second is to practice after what you've been taught, and then join a paddling club. So you'll meet other people to have to go kayaking with. That's how you find them. That's how I found them and made some of the best friends I've ever made in my life. Another is if you want to get into, say, kayak camping, like I like to do, um, just first start off packing your boat, practice at home, see if you can get everything in, get all your gear worked out, And then just do an overnight. Don't plan a great big multi-day trip first time out. Do several overnights with maybe a friend, or don't go by yourself, but uh, do that 2 or 3 times, and you'll soon learn what you need, what you don't need, what you can improve. And if you really don't feel comfortable doing that on your own, you can come with us out here on Watauga Lake for our kayak overnight adventure. What I like most about the Swanee River trip is where it is. It's in Florida. It's in northern Florida. The climate, the time of year I like to go is April, so early spring, early fall, before it gets too hot, or, in the spring, before it gets too cold in the fall. And then the river itself is just so beautiful. You're floating down a river that has enough current that you don't have to paddle that hard, and it has a sandy bottom, and you're floating along. You can even twirl along, and I've done that and eat a snack, and then we paddle into these springs. The springs are like little blue lagoons. They're just gorgeous and crystal clear, and we go swimming and snorkeling. And then I like stopping at the parks. The parks have swimming areas with a high dive, and watching everybody jump off the high dive, and the rope swing, a huge rope swing. I like to watch people come off, and I swim and I snorkel a little bit there, and uh, you know, it's the birds and the fish and the scenery. It's a really truly wonderful vacation. And then when I get into camp, I just go throw down in one of those screened in huts and turn on the ceiling fan and kind of sit back and rest a little bit while, you know, we've got a hired caterer that takes care of the food, and he just tells us when it's done, and we have wonderful meals. That, to me, it's a vacation, and I get to relax and do my favorite thing, which is kayaking.